It is a quiet evening at the J. Edgar Hoover building, but the lights on the 7th floor haven't flickered out. Inside the office of the FBI director, the air is thick with a tension that no security clearance can bypass. Kash Patel, once considered the most untouchable operative in the federal system, is staring at a document that carries more weight than any classified dossier. It is a court summons, and this time, there is no executive shield to hide behind. The authority of the Bureau, a federal judge wrote earlier today, is derived from the law, not the individual who occupies the chair. With those words, the legal walls that have protected Patel's rapid rise within the federal system began to close in. We aren't just looking at another courtroom battle. We are witnessing the potential final chapter of a career that redefined the boundaries of political power in Washington. Pay close attention to the dates, because by the time this week is over, the name Kash Patel may no longer be synonymous with federal authority, but with the most significant cautionary tale in the history of the Department of Justice. The clock is ticking, and for the director, the final hour has arrived.
To understand the magnitude of this crisis, you have to understand the man at the center of it. Kash Patel didn't just join the federal system, he attempted to re-engineer it. From his days on the House Intelligence Committee to his ascension as the director of the FBI, Patel's career has been defined by one thing: absolute loyalty to a singular political vision. But that loyalty has finally hit the immovable object of the federal judiciary. The case currently threatening to end his career revolves around the alleged weaponization of Bureau resources to shield political allies and suppress unredacted files linked to high-profile investigations, most notably the Epstein archives. For months, Patel operated under the assumption that the FBI was a fortress. His legal team argued that his actions were official duties, protected by the highest layers of government immunity. They believed that as long as the White House held the keys, the courts could never enter the building. But they forgot one thing. The federal system is built on a series of checks that do not expire with an election cycle. The special counsel has now pivoted from asking for documents to investigating the intent behind their suppression. And in the world of federal law, intent is where careers go to die.
The escalation began in the quietest of ways, with a series of show cause orders from 3 different federal districts. Judges, weary of what they described as procedural sabotage, began to coordinate. This wasn't just about one set of files anymore. It was about whether the FBI director could simply ignore a subpoena he didn't like. Here is where everything changes. Judge Richard Garman, leading the charge, issued a memorandum that sent shockwaves through the DOJ. He didn't just threaten fines, he threatened a permanent disqualification from federal service. In Washington, this is known as the death penalty for a bureaucrat. It means your security clearance is revoked, your pension is frozen, and you are barred from ever holding an office of trust again. Inside the Bureau, the atmosphere has turned. Career agents, the lifers who'd have seen directors come and go, are starting to cooperate with the Inspector General. They see the writing on the wall. They know that when a federal judge starts using words like contempt and obstruction in the same sentence as the director's name, the ship is already sinking.
We are now at the breaking point. The court has set a hard deadline for the turnover of the unredacted Epstein servers. But the investigation has uncovered something even more damaging: a shadow server within the FBI, allegedly set up under Patel's direct order to host documents that were supposed to have been deleted or turned over to the courts months ago. If this server exists, it represents a criminal breach of federal records laws. And for Kash Patel, it represents the end of the road. On the morning of the hearing, the courthouse was a fortress.
marshals lined the hallways. The air was heavy with the realization that we were about to see a sitting FBI director potentially lose his legal standing in real time. When the judge asked for the encryption keys, the silence from Patel's legal team was deafening. This wasn't just a refusal to comply. It was a total collapse of a defense strategy. The judge leaned forward and uttered the words that may define Patel's legacy. "Director Patel, you are no longer a witness in this case. You are the subject."
The consequences of this case ending Patel's career are staggering. If the architect of the new FBI is removed and barred from service, the entire structure he built will be dismantled within hours. The political fallout is already beginning. His allies in Congress are calling it a deep state ambush, but in the halls of the DOJ, the mood is one of clinical precision. The law is simply taking back what was borrowed. But look closer at the personal cost. A career built on being the ultimate insider is ending in total exclusion. If Patel loses his clearance, he cannot even enter the buildings he once commanded. He becomes a ghost in the system he tried to master. More importantly, this case sets a precedent that will haunt every future political appointee. It proves that while you can hide behind a title for a time, the title itself belongs to the Constitution, and the Constitution eventually demands its property back.
The sun is setting over the Potomac. In a few hours, the final order will be signed and entered into the Federal Register. Kash Patel's lawyers are making one last, desperate attempt at an emergency stay from the Supreme Court. But the signals from the High Court are clear. They are not interested in protecting individual officials from the consequences of defying the lower courts. The era of the untouchable operative is coming to a close. The files will be released, the servers will be decrypted, and the seat at the head of the FBI will soon be vacant. As the cleaners move through the empty corridors of the Hoover Building, they are picking up more than just trash. They are clearing away the remains of a career that thought it was larger than the law. The final gavel is about to fall, and the sound will be heard across every branch of government. Are you prepared for the aftermath?